Well, joining us now, former Pentagon official, Fox News national security analyst, KT McFarland, Foundation for the Defense of Democracy's president, Clifford May. Good to have you both here. KT, we're now told that the talks have concluded for the evening or the morning in Vienna. Your thoughts about what we can expect?
Well, I think that, the talks are going to go on and go on and go on, and Iran wins either way. They win if we concede everything, if we concede verification, if we concede enforcement, if we drop all sanctions on day one, and they win even if they don't, because they're continuing with their nuclear program. I think this deal now is Iran is getting nuclear weapons. I mean, just face it, Iran is getting nuclear weapons sooner or later. The question is a rich Iran going to get nuclear weapons or poor Iran? And a rich Iran takes its nuclear power, takes its sort of hegemonic position in the region, continues its expansion, continues to threaten the region, and continues to then, I think, potentially control a third of the oil market and the Strait of Hormuz.
Do you agree, Cliff?
Yeah, as usual, I do agree with KT. I think this looks like a complete diplomatic victory for the Iranians in this instance. It appears that all of the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's red lines have been respected, and it appears that none of the red lines that President Obama set down have not been transgressed at this point. We've given away everything. It does not look like there will be intrusive inspections. It does look like there will be a signing bonus. These negotiations were meant to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Instead, it looks like these negotiations are going to pave the way, asking only that Iran drag its feet for a while, which they may do or they may not. We don't know.
Let me ask you both. If the deal is done, how in the world does President Obama present this to the American people? I know it can't be stopped. The idea that Congress has review power over this is a fiction that was convenient, apparently, to both the president and Capitol Hill Republican leaders. But how in the world does he present this without any benefit to the American people?
Well, here's what he'll do. He'll set up a straw man argument. He'll say it's either this deal, flawed as it may be, or it's war. Nobody wants war, so therefore you have my deal. And in the president's mind, I don't think he's an evil guy, but I think he's a foolish guy, because I think in his mind, he figures, well, by the time Iran gets around to being a nuclear power sooner or later, they will be so embraced by the world community and their friendship with America that they'll change. They'll change their evil ways. They'll stop their support of terrorism. They'll stop their hegemonic ambitions in the entire region. They'll stop chanting death to America, and they'll stop burning the Israeli flag. I think that's very naive.
Very important point, if I may,
Sure.
that, yes, as recently as Friday, they were burning American flags and Israeli flags and Saudi flags in the streets of Tehran. And as recently as a few days ago, you had the Supreme Leader telling students that the struggle against the United States, the arrogant power, will continue. So the idea that over a few years, this regime is going to moderate its ways when it hasn't since 1979, when the revolution took place, I happened to be there at the time, that is a fiction. There is no evidence. There is no reason to believe that's the case. The other thing they're going to say, Katie's right about everything, is they'll say this agreement will restrict Iran for the next 10 years. What they won't say is the opposite of that, which is also true. This agreement will legitimize Iran's nuclear capability within 10 years or so.
It may, in fact, have already had the unintended consequence of doing precisely that, elevating Iran and legitimizing their interests. What do you? And I want to turn to this very quickly. What do you make of Benjamin Netanyahu's decision to launch a Farsi Twitter account and begin warning Iranians of the consequences of this deal? KT?
At this point, if you assume that the deal is going to go through, that President Obama's got it all figured out, he's going to have his straw man argument, I think what Netanyahu is trying to do is say to the Iranian people, let's have an opportunity for regime change. And that's why he's introduced the account in Farsi. It's now an opportunity, maybe, to talk to 80% of the Iranian population that's under the age of 35 and doesn't necessarily support the mullahs as its leaders. That's the last gasp of a hope, I think, is to potentially to moderate Iran's behavior by using the address to their youth.
Do you see any prospect of success in such a strategy, Cliff?
Well, any prospect, sure. Look, I think it's good for the Israelis to be telling the Iranian people, we have nothing against you. We would like to have good relations with you. We don't think that the work you do should result in funds that go to Hezbollah and Hamas and Houthi rebels and all that. It's worth his reaching out. The idea of a revolution, look, we have no science to that. We don't know that. In 2009, there was a possibility of a successful revolution. The Iranians took to the streets saying, death to the dictators. Obama, are you with us or against us? Obama decided, no, I'm not going to reach out to the Iranian people. I'm going to reach out to their rulers. That was a mistake. I think it's a long shot, I guess, is my answer, Lou.
A long shot, a straw perhaps in the wind. Also, there is the prospect of a military response by Israel. Is there not, KT?
You know, I guess maybe it all should be on the table. I think it becomes a very difficult logistic thing. I think much more likely to happen is that the response of all the other countries in the region will be to get nuclear weapons of their own. So that our main point of all this whole deal was to stop a nuclear arms race, putting nuclear weapons in the hands of crazy people who want to use them. I think the opposite's going to happen.
Cliff, you get the last word.
Well, I think KT is exactly right about that. We don't know what Israel's capabilities are. I think they're probably stressed in this instant. I think the U.S. does have the possibility to destroy the nuclear facilities without putting any boots on the ground. If we had a credible military threat, if Iran saw it as credible, we might not be in this position. Truly crippling sanctions and a credible military threat are necessary to have deterrence. We have not had either for a very long time. I think it's a huge strategic mistake that President Obama has made.
Cliff May, KT McFarland. How about those last words? KT's right. Do you like those last?
I like that. Works for me.
Thank you both for being with us.
Not the first time I've said it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Cliff.